What do you do when the man you're supposed to marry, the one who promised you forever, is sleeping with your little brother's fiancé in your own bed on the night of their engagement party? You don't scream. You don't throw things. You don't give them the satisfaction of seeing you break. You give them exactly what they wanted, a bond they can never escape. Military-grade adhesive, clear as water, designed to set only after 5 perfect minutes of heat and friction. And then you let 400 of Portland's most important people watch the fire department try to tear them apart. Their screams echoing over the garden that night were the sweetest sound I'd ever heard. My name is Dr. Elena Voss. For the last 9 years, I've lived my life like one long, carefully controlled experiment. I'm the director of chemical engineering at Voss Biometrics, the company my grandfather founded and that I helped turn into a quiet empire. I deal in precision. Molecules that fit together perfectly, or destroy each other when the wrong element is introduced. I thought I'd applied that same precision to my relationship with Alexander Harrington, Alex, to everyone who mattered. At 44, he was handsome in that polished, Pacific Northwest tech money way, tailored suits, easy smile, the kind of charm that closed 8-figure deals over single malt scotch. We lived in a glass and cedar home on the Willamette River, floor-to-ceiling windows. Cold marble floors, the kind of place that looks warm in magazines but feels like a laboratory at night. From the outside, we were perfect. Portland's golden couple. But glass, as any scientist knows, is beautiful and brittle. The first cracks appeared about 7 months ago. Alex started spending hours at an exclusive gym downtown. His suits got tighter. His cologne changed, something sharp and expensive I'd never bought him. He came home late, carrying that gym bag like a trophy, always with a smooth excuse about investors or term sheets. I noticed. I notice everything. It's what I do for a living. Then there was my brother, Ethan. 27, soft-hearted, brilliant with code but terrible with people. He'd been saving for years to propose to his girlfriend, Sophia Lang, 24, platinum blonde, wide innocent eyes that somehow always landed on the most expensive thing in the room. When Ethan brought her home, he was glowing. He talked about soulmates. I watched the way Sophia's fingers brushed the silk curtains, the way she asked Alex about the square footage of the guest house. I smiled. I said all the right things. But I started watching closer. And then, on a quiet Tuesday evening, everything changed. Alex came home late again, gym bag slung over his shoulder. He tossed it onto the bench at the foot of our bed and disappeared into the shower, humming something I didn't recognize. I'm a creature of order. The bag was about to slide off and spill onto my white rug. So I picked it up. The side pocket was unzipped, just a little. I reached in for his damp towel, and my fingers brushed cool plastic. I pulled it out. A small, expensive tube of silicone-based lubricant. The kind that costs more than most people's dinner. Half empty. A single long, platinum blonde hair caught in the cap. And clinging to the plastic, the heavy, unmistakable scent of Sophia's signature perfume. Midnight jasmine. I stood there in the hush of our bedroom, shower running in the background, and felt something inside me go very, very still. Not heartbreak. Not yet. Just cold, perfect clarity. The experiment had begun, and they had no idea I was the one holding the beaker. The shower shut off behind me, and I heard Alex humming as he toweled dry. I slipped the tube back into its hidden pocket, zipped the bag exactly as it had been, and set it down like nothing had happened. By the time he walked out, towel around his waist, smiling that practiced, dazzling smile, I was already smiling back. "Hey, beautiful," he said, leaning in to kiss my cheek. I let him. I even tilted my head so he could reach. I smelled the mint on his breath, and underneath it, the faint trace of midnight jasmine clinging to his skin. I told him I'd had a breakthrough at the lab that day. He didn't ask what it was. He never really did. That weekend, Ethan and Sophia came over for dinner. Just the 4 of us at the long walnut table overlooking the river. Ethan was telling some sweet, rambling story about his latest coding project, eyes shining every time Sophia laughed. I watched her foot slide out of her heel under the table. I watched Alex's hand rest casually on his wineglass while his eyes flicked to her. Just for a second. A hungry, secret glance that lasted less than a heartbeat. But I caught it. I catch everything. They thought they were so clever. They thought I was the predictable, work-obsessed fiancé, too buried in research to notice the air changing in my own house. They were wrong. After that night, I stopped reacting and started observing. Hypothesis first. Alex was cheating. Data collection next. Alex has never been good with technology. He treats his phone like it's magic. Never bothers with real security. One morning while he was in the shower, I picked it up, guessed his 4-digit passcode, his birth year, of course, and installed a quiet little monitoring app I'd adapted from a tool we use at Voss Biometrics to test network vulnerabilities. I buried the icon deep in a folder he'd never open. From that moment on, every text, every photo, every search mirrored silently to a folder on my laptop. Then came the cameras. I took a half day. Told my assistant I had a migraine. The house was empty. I moved through it like a ghost, installing tiny lenses, one in the motion sensor of the home office, another in the ventilation grate above the guest bed where Ethan and Sophia stayed most weekends. The first real proof came 2 days later. Ethan had gone to a final suit fitting for the wedding. Sophia told him she'd come to our place early to talk flowers with me. Only I was still at the lab. She knew that. I sat in my darkened office, headphones on, watching the feed from the home office camera. Alex was at his desk, pretending to review contracts. The door opened. Sophia walked in wearing a short white tennis skirt, even though she's never played a day in her life. There was no small talk. She just straddled his lap. "Is the idiot gone?" Alex asked, hands already on her waist. Sophia laughed that high, careless laugh. "He's at the tailor. Told him to take his time. He thinks he's going to look like some movie star in that cheap suit. More like the parking attendant." Alex barked a cruel little laugh. "Let him dream. Once he signs those trust release forms after the wedding, he can go back to his studio apartment and his ramen noodles." "And the Ice Queen?" Sophia asked, leaning in to bite his ear. "Where's she?" "Obviously at the lab." Alex sighed. "Mixing her potions. God, I don't know how I've survived 9 years with her. She's like a beautiful, frozen statue." My heart didn't race. My hands didn't shake. I just sat very still, letting their words settle over me like a chemical bath. "But we're almost there, baby," Alex murmured, fingers in her hair. Finish lines in sight. I minimized the video. I didn't need to watch the rest. Finish line. I opened the keylogger data from his laptop. Logged into the Cayman account he thought I didn't know about. Saw the transfers. $5.2 million. Siphoned slowly over 20 months from our joint accounts. From the real estate flips. From the biotech investments that were supposed to be our future. He wasn't just cheating. He was stealing our life. Planning to divorce me, claim he was broke, leave me with the depreciating assets while he and Sophia disappeared to some island I'd paid for. I closed the laptop. Breathed in. Breathed out. Emotion clouds data. Logic finds solutions. And I was just getting started. The deeper I dug, the darker it got. For weeks after that first video, I'd been noticing things about myself that scared me. Little gaps in memory. Formulas I'd known since grad school suddenly slipping away. Board meetings where the walls seemed to pulse at the edges of my vision. A constant fog wrapped around my thoughts, like I was thinking through wet cotton. Alex was so gentle during those episodes. He'd take my hand, his face creased with that perfect, practiced concern. "You're working too hard, Elena. Maybe it's early onset, like your grandmother." He started coming to my doctor appointments, speaking for me, painting this picture of a woman quietly unraveling. I started to believe him. I started to doubt my own mind. But once I knew about the affair, everything looked different. One morning, after another, forgotten detail at work, Alex handed me my daily supplements, the ritual he'd taken over months ago. Multivitamin, fish oil, and 2 white capsules he swore were a premium herbal blend for cognitive sharpness. "Drink up, love," he said, kissing my forehead. "You've got that big presentation today." I smiled. I lifted the glass to my lips. And I palmed the 2 white pills, sliding them into my blazer pocket. At the lab, I didn't go to my office. I went straight to mass spectrometry. I ground the capsules into powder, ran the full scan. Watched the peaks rise on the screen. My blood turned to ice. They weren't herbal. They were a synthetic psilocybin derivative cut with a mild sedative, microdosed to cause confusion. Mild hallucinations, memory lapses. No full trip. Just enough to make me question reality. He wasn't waiting for a divorce. He was building a case to have me declared incompetent. Power of attorney. Conservatorship. Control of my shares in Voss Biometrics. Control of everything. He didn't want to leave me. He wanted to erase me. That same evening, I found Sophia's tablet on the kitchen island, unlocked. Because Sophia believes rules are for other people. Greasy fingerprints on the screen traced a lazy Z pattern. I swiped it. Opened her notes app. It was a diary. A smug, vicious little record of everything. Shopping sprees on Alex's stolen cards. Mockery of my clothes, my voice, my beige life. And then the timeline. The Ice Queen swallowed today's dose without blinking. She's starting to forget little things, adorable. By Christmas we'll have her committed. I've already picked the new bedding for the master. Velvet everything. My stomach turned, but I kept scrolling. 2 weeks old. A note titled, The Ethan Problem. He's getting clingy about using wedding money for a house down payment. As if. Alex says keep him happy till the wedding. Then we can't have him poking around once Alina's locked away. Alex knows a guy, car accident. Nothing fatal. Broken legs. Maybe spine. If Ethan's crippled, Elena will fall apart completely. She'll sign anything. 2 birds, 1 stone. I set the tablet down like it was radioactive. They weren't just stealing my money. They were planning to break my brother's body to shatter what was left of my mind. I stared out the dark window at my own reflection. The woman looking back wasn't confused anymore. She was something older. Something colder. They wanted a crazy woman. Fine. I'd give them one. But not the version they were expecting. From that night on, I palmed the pills every morning. Pretended to swallow. Stored them in a sealed vial in my lab fridge. I let my hands tremble when I thought Alex was watching. I forgot names. I let headaches bloom across my face. I let them believe their poison was working. But my mind? My mind was clearer than it had ever been. Sharp as a scalpel. They wanted to destroy me with chemistry. I decided I would destroy them with it instead. The observation phase was over. It was time to introduce the catalyst. The lab at Voss Biometrics is quietest at 2 in the morning. The city sleeps beyond the windows. But inside Sector 7 the air is scrubbed clean, humming faintly with the breath of machines. I swiped my badge at the blast door. Walked past rows of sleeping spectrometers. My heels echoing like slow heartbeats on the polished floor. Tonight I wasn't here as the director. I was here as the architect of something final. In my pocket was a small vial of the original lubricant I'd taken from Alex's gym bag earlier that evening. I set it under the fume hood and began the breakdown. Viscosity. Refractive index. Scent profile. It was high-end silicone. Smooth as warm honey. Designed to stay slick under prolonged friction. I needed something that would fool them completely, until it didn't. I moved to the climate-controlled vault at the back. Keyed in my override. The door side open. I passed the shelves of pharmaceutical precursors and went straight to the military prototypes. There it was. Project Titan Bond. A cyanoacrylate hybrid developed for the Navy, meant to seal submarine hull breaches under crushing ocean pressure. In raw form it was a thick, blue paste that smelled like scorched plastic. Not ideal. So I refined it. 2 hours at the distillation rig. Temperature held steady at just over 300 degrees. I stripped away the colorants. The odor markers. When it cooled, it was perfectly clear, completely scentless. But the real trick was the delay. Ordinary superglue sets on contact with air too fast. They'd notice immediately. I needed them fully committed. Deep in the act, before the reaction began. I added a thermal reactive polymer that stayed dormant at room temperature. Only when it hit 98.6 body heat plus sustained friction would the chains uncouple and lock. I tested a drop on synthetic skin under a heated probe. For 4 minutes and 50 seconds it stayed silky, indistinguishable from the luxury brand Alex loved. Then, right on cue, the molecules seized. The bond became rubberized, elastic like skin but stronger than steel. I pulled with 50 pounds of force. The synthetic skin tore. The bond didn't. Perfect. I wasn't a killer. I didn't want them fused forever, just long enough to lose everything. So I synthesized the antidote on a separate bench, a volatile solvent that would dissolve Titan bond. But only with a fierce exothermic reaction. Hot enough to feel like fire on raw skin. I diluted it slightly, added a topical numbing agent, more mercy than they deserved. Bottled it in an unmarked medical vial labeled only, Solution B. My insurance policy. The only key in the world. By the time the sun bled pale pink through the blinds, I was driving home with the modified adhesive in a syringe. Alex was still asleep, breathing slow and even, dreaming of the millions he thought were already his. I slipped into the master bath, opened his gym bag, removed the reel tube, emptied it completely, injected my creation until the weight matched exactly. Added 1 drop of midnight jasmine oil I'd ordered online, identical to Sophia's perfume. Screwed the cap. Wiped for prints. Closed the secret pocket. It was armed. Later that morning, over coffee, I glanced at the calendar. Ethan and Sophia's engagement party was in 2 days. 400 guests, tech investors, city council members, journalists, catered on our riverfront lawn. The perfect stage. I looked across the island at Alex. Handsome and rested. Darling, I said lightly, with the security upgrades in the East Wing, maybe we should keep the master bedroom locked during the party. Wouldn't want guests wandering. He paused mid-sip, eyes flicking to me for half a second. I saw the calculation. Locked room. Forbidden. Thrilling. Don't worry, he said with a small, conspiratorial smile. I'll make sure it stays private. I took a slow sip of my black coffee. Bitter on the tongue, but the aftertaste was impossibly sweet. The trap was baited. All that was left was to wait for them to walk in. Saturday evening arrived like a perfectly staged production. The Voss estate had been transformed, white silk tents on the lawn. Lanterns floating above the river. Imported orchids that cost more than most people's rent. A string quartet played something soft and unobtrusive while 400 guests, investors in Patagonia vests. Politicians with practiced smiles, journalists sniffing for a story, drifted across the grass with champagne flutes in hand. I stood at the top of the stone steps in an emerald silk gown, watching it all like a scientist observing a reaction she already knew would explode. Alex was beside me, adjusting his cufflinks, playing the generous host. His hand rested on the small of my back, possessive, performative. Try to smile a little more tonight, Elena, he murmured. It's a celebration, after all. I turned to him, let my eyes soften just enough. I'm overflowing with joy, I said quietly. Can't you tell? We descended into the crowd. I moved through the evening like a ghost, accepting compliments on the flowers. The food, the view. Every laugh was measured. Every touch on an arm was deliberate. I found Ethan near the dessert tower, looking heartbreakingly happy in his new tux. He pulled me into a hug that smelled like the same drugstore cologne he'd worn since college. Can you believe this, Elena? All of this, for us. His eyes kept searching the crowd for Sophia. You deserve it, I told him, squeezing his hand. And I meant it. Then she appeared. Sophia, in a white dress cut just low enough to be noticed by every wife in the vicinity. Surrounded by her pack of influencer friends, all sharp cheekbones and empty laughter. I walked over carrying a small velvet box. Sophia, I said, loud enough for nearby guests to turn. A proper welcome to the family. I opened the box. A platinum diamond bracelet, 5 carats. Bought yesterday on Alex's secret card. Her eyes flashed pure greed before she arranged her face into grateful surprise. Oh, Elena, it's breathtaking. She let me clasp it around her wrist. I'll take such good care of Ethan. I promise. I know you will, I said, smiling the kind of smile that doesn't reach the eyes. You have excellent taste in valuable things. The next hour was choreography. I kept glasses full. Introduced Ethan to people who could actually help his career. Watched the invisible thread between Alex and Sophia tighten. A glance across the oyster station. A subtle check of his watch when she laughed. At 8 o'clock, the sun dipped behind the hills and the garden lights came on, casting long, romantic shadows. It was time. I found Alex near the bar, swirling scotch, looking pleasantly bored. Darling, I whispered, stepping close, letting my breath brush his ear. I need a favor. The caterers are having a meltdown over the dessert timing. I'll be stuck in the tent for at least 2 hours. He smirked. Don't work too hard. Also, I lowered my voice, glancing around like we were sharing a secret. Sophia looked flushed earlier, maybe overwhelmed. Ethan's too busy playing host to notice. Could you check on her? You're so good at calming people. His eyes flickered, quick calculation. Wife occupied. Brother distracted. Mistress waiting. I suppose I should play the good future brother-in-law, he said, barely hiding the smile. Where is she? I think she went toward the house for some quiet. I leaned closer. Oh, and the security team is updating firmware in the East Wing tonight. Whole systems offline in the master suite until morning. If you need privacy to talk, it's the quietest room in the house. His pulse jumped at his throat. Good to know, he said casually. I'll make sure she's all right. Thank you, I said, brushing an invisible speck from his lapel. You're a saint. I walked away toward the catering tent, counting slowly. 2 minutes later, Alex set his glass down and drifted toward the house. 3 minutes after that, Sophia detached herself from her friends, checked her phone, no doubt reading his text, and slipped inside. I found Ethan laughing with a group of old college friends, champagne raised in a toast. He had no idea the 2 people he trusted most were climbing the grand staircase to ruin him. I pulled out my phone, opened the smart home app. Master bedroom door. Opened, closed. Motion detected. 2 subjects. I waited. I needed them comfortable, confident, reaching for that gym bag. Then I walked into the catering tent and started quietly, deliberately arguing with the chef about chocolate temperature, loud enough for a dozen staff to remember I'd been there the whole time. An ironclad alibi. While upstairs, my unfaithful fiancé and his mistress were sealing their fate, one slick application at a time. The countdown had started, and there was no stopping the reaction now. The garden was bathed in soft golden light, the quartet playing something slow and dreamy. I stood near the rose beds, phone in hand, looking for all the world like a hostess checking last-minute details. In reality, I was watching a private horror film I'd scripted myself. The hidden camera in the smoke detector gave me a crystal-clear view of the master bedroom. Soft lamplight. Alex tossing his tux jacket aside with that careless confidence. Sophia kicking off her heels, spinning in the middle of the room. This place is so sterile, she laughed. Smells like old money and no fun. When it's ours, I'm putting mirrors on the ceiling. Leopard print everywhere. You can have whatever you want, babe, Alex said, loosening his tie. Once Alina's out of the picture, this house is your playground. For now, let's break in the bed properly. He walked to the bench, unzipped the gym bag, pulled out the tube. My breath caught, just for a second. New bottle? Sophia asked, glancing at it. Same brand, fresh one, he said, squeezing a generous amount into his palm. Smells just like you. Midnight jasmine. They fell onto the bed in a tangle of limbs and lies. I forced myself to watch. Clinical, detached. I needed to confirm contact points. Needed to know the heat and friction had started the timer. 1 minute. 2. They whispered cruel little jokes about Ethan. About me. 3 minutes. 4. At 4 minutes and 50 seconds, the polymer was fully primed. I opened the security app. Thumb over the red icon. Master Suite lockdown. Custom protocol. Steel deadbolts on every door. Hurricane shutters over the windows. Soundproofed room. I pressed it. Through my earbuds I heard the heavy thud of locks engaging. On screen, Alex paused mid-motion. What was that? Just the system resetting, he said, uncertain. Elena mentioned maintenance. He tried to shift position. Then his face changed. Wait, hang on. Sophia made an annoyed sound. Don't stop. I'm trying to move, he said, voice rising. It's getting sticky. Really sticky. The Titan bond doesn't crack or dry. It cross-links into a flexible, skin-like polymer stronger than tissue. The more they struggled, the faster it cured. Sophia shrieked first. Ow, Alex, you're pulling my skin. I'm not trying to, he yelled, panic breaking through. I can't get off. We're stuck. They thrashed. Skin stretched unnaturally. Screams turned raw. Alex reached down for leverage, his palms, still coated in residue, bonded to his own thigh and her stomach. Chain reaction. Hands glued. More surface area. Stronger bond. They became a grotesque, writhing sculpture. Get your phone, Sophia sobbed. He stretched, contorted in agony, fingertips brushing the nightstand, but couldn't grasp it. They rolled off the bed in a tangled heap, sheets twisting around them, screaming with every inch. Naked. Fused. Trapped in a sealed room. I closed the feed. Took a slow breath of night air, jasmine and river water. Then I turned up the garden speakers to maximum and routed the bedroom's ceiling microphones outside. 1 second the quartet was playing. The next, Alex's amplified voice tore through the night. God, stop moving, you're tearing me apart. 400 heads snapped up. Sophia's higher scream followed. It burns, get it off, we're fused. The music died. I let 3 full seconds of horrified silence hang. Then I dropped my champagne flute. It shattered on the stone patio like a gunshot. Alex, I cried, hands over my mouth. Sophia, oh my God, someone's hurting them. Ethan dropped his plate and ran to me, face white. What's happening? I don't know, I wailed, pointing at the house. It sounds like they're trapped. Call help. Guests surged toward the house in a wave of expensive shoes and panic. We reached the master suite doors, now packed with Portland's elite jostling for a view. The screams were muffled through the wood but unmistakable. Mark, Ethan screamed, pounding the door. We're coming. He rattled the handle. Locked. Elena, the code. I stepped to the keypad, hands trembling theatrically. Punched wrong numbers twice. Beeps. Denied. From inside, Alex's desperate roar. Don't come in, call an ambulance, but don't open the door. The crowd went still. That wasn't the voice of a victim. That was the voice of a man hiding something. One more try, I gasped. I entered my real code. Chime. Deadbolts retracted. I stepped back. Ethan, you first. He kicked the door wide. Hallway light flooded in. The collective gasp sucked the air from the corridor. There they were, on the floor at the foot of the bed. Naked. Pressed together in a way no anatomy lesson prepares you for. Skin angry red and swollen around the bonds. Faces tear-streaked, mascara running, eyes wide with animal terror. Ethan whispered, Soph. Sophia tried to cover herself, but her hand was glued to Alex's chest. The motion only dragged him sideways, drawing fresh screams. Phones came out. Flashes popped like lightning. Alex croaked, Get out, everyone get out. But no one moved. The nightmare had an audience. And the audience wasn't going anywhere. Security arrived, then paramedics, then fire rescue with hydraulic tools they never got to use. They lifted the two of them, still fused face to face, onto an oversized gurney under the glare of floodlights while 400 guests watched in stunned silence. Camera phones captured every second. By the time the ambulance doors closed, the video was already spreading across Portland's group chats, tagged #Voss scandal #stuck together. I climbed into the front seat. I'm the fiancé, I told the driver calmly. And a chemical engineer, I may be able to help. As we pulled away, sirens wailing, I glanced back at the lawn. Ethan stood alone under the lanterns, staring after the ambulance. He looked broken. But the cancer had finally been cut out. And the healing could begin.